In May of 2010, we basically, who's the hospice nurse or social worker? Yeah. How do I say this? We broke out of jail. We had hospice nurses coming, we had this pump. He was having a little bit of trouble with the pump, and we were in the hospital, but we wanted to go to Whidbey Island, right? And so we basically had to say, yeah, we'll take the responsibility for that. And in order to get a weekend away, which was really important to us at that point. Realizing that they weren't very happy about us leaving, and they weren't sure what was going on, and they weren't sure if the pump was going to work and things like that. But we went. And I think because of the breaking out of jail feel of it, and the realization that there was some risk in going on this little jaunt, basically, I started to realize how fragile he was. And I felt this really strong need that we start to talk very directly about his dying, and what would that look like, and what did he mean that he might want to be conscious at his death, that sort of thing. So I started pressing into him a little bit, and he and I would do this flip-flop, right? So I might be in a period of time where I was a little bit more willing to face death, and then he'd push back. Or he might be in a period of time where he'd be a little bit more willing, and I would do this. And this was part of the kind of beautiful dance between us, I think, really. But I remember sitting on the ferry dock on the way to Whidbey Island, and I said, you know, honey, I really think we've got to talk about this. Like, what does it mean? And do you have a sense of when you might want to end your life if you were going to do that? This is before he's accessed his right, by the way. And he says to me, well, what? Do you just want me to die then? You know, he has one of those moments. And I'm like, oh boy, you know, that's where we are? But there was a candidness to that. And later that night, you know, I dropped it. I mean, it's not like I was pushing anything. I was pushing a conversation that felt to me like it was in the air, but not being expressed. Later that night, I woke up and he was out on the deck, and you know, you get out of the city and there's these incredible stars, right? He's standing out on the deck with this morphine pump on the railing, and he's standing like this. And I go out and I say, what's going on? And he starts crying and he says, it's so beautiful, right? And that's when we started really having the conversation, which was, what about this love affair with life? What are we going to do about that? And he started deliberating and questioning, what's enough? He said to me, I don't know that I'd ever feel like I'd had enough of this, right? Which I think is such an honest thing to say. Of course, we all feel that. And I said something snarky like, well, you're kind of greedy, aren't you? You know, but only because, of course, I'm that way too. But then he started thinking about, is there anything else that I'd like to do? Right? Is there something missing in my life? And that was a super important question, really. And I think what started to happen is that he started to really assess what's missing, what needs to happen, is there really anything, or is there a fullness to my life? Is there, in a way, a completion to my life? And given that I'm going to die anyway, is what it looks like now, do I get to be involved in that conversation with my life? And so when we got back from Whidbey Island at the end of that May weekend, he called our family practice doctor, who was his primary care physician, and he informed her that he would like to talk to her about his death with dignity option.